What is expropriation without compensation? And why has it dominated headlines in South Africa over the last 4 years or so?
So South Africa has a long history of difficult property relations, given our apartheid system and segregation before that. That has generated a lot of racial tension in how property is distributed between Black South Africans and white South Africans and South Africans of other races. And that meant that when South Africa became a democracy in 1994, that the land question, as it is often called, was going to be very high on the agenda. And it has been since then. One of the most radical proposals, certainly there were liberal proposals and liberal initiatives, of course, to give property that was taken illegitimately and non-consensually by previous governments back to their real owners. And these are policies, obviously, that a person such as myself definitely supports. But one of the more radical proposals that comes from the left of the political spectrum has been this notion of expropriation without compensation. One needs to look at what Zimbabwe, South Africa's northern neighbor, did in the late 1990s, early 2000s, to see where the inspiration for EWC in South Africa comes from. There, Robert Mugabe, when his government ran out of money and was unable to pay former military veterans who fought against the Rhodesian government there, President Mugabe decided that the land of white farmers would simply be taken, expropriated without compensation, whereas in ordinary expropriation law, market-based compensation must always be paid. And this led to, of course, radical readjustment in Zimbabwe's property relations profile. So white Zimbabweans owned significantly less property, and South African socialists were very heartened by this. Now, despite the fact that Zimbabwe's economy crashed almost immediately thereafter, as the total disregard for private property rights led to investment pouring out of the country, sanctions being imposed on the country, hunger, inflation, and all the other various consequences of that policy that one can imagine did come to fruition there. But South Africa's socialists were very inspired by this because it achieved what they wanted, which is for the proportion of racial ownership to change radically. And in 2017, the governing party of South Africa, the African National Congress, at its leadership conference, resolved that expropriation without compensation would become one of its central policy pillars. And the South African Parliament, which is obviously dominated by the ANC, affirmed this a few months later in February of 2018.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow us on Twitter at @the_IATP. Also, hit the like and subscribe button below, and check out our website at www.theiatp.org.